Hi everyone, I hope you are having a good day. I can't believe we are just over 2 months away before the end of the year. I've already read over 100 books in 2020, which is more than I've ever read in 1 year before. Thank you, COVID. I've been looking at all of my books and trying to figure out which books I still really want to get in before 2020 becomes 2021. Today, I thought I would share some of my options with you. For those who are watching for the first time, thanks for checking out my channel. My name is Jolene from Bookworm Adventure Girl, and I love to read diverse books, diverse authors, and diverse genres, as well as Canadian literature. If this is something that interests you, then please hit subscribe and stick around. If you've watched my videos before, welcome back. Today I will be sharing 20 books that are among the possibilities of books I'm going to choose from, and hopefully I can get to at least some of them before the end of the year. So let's get started. First up is Hidden Valley Road by Robert Kolker. This is a non-fiction or biography, and it is a story about the Galvin family. There are 12 children in the family, 2 girls and 10 boys, all born between 1945 and 1965. And outwardly they look like the perfect family, but behind closed doors there was violence, abuse, and psychological breakdown. 6 of the boys are diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I think this is going to be a fascinating story of family dynamics and mental illness. How the Penguins Saved Veronica by Hazel Pryor, or Away with the Penguins is the title in the UK. This is a fiction novel that I actually have already started and I was loving it, but I had to put it aside because I needed to get a few other books finished. And so I already know that it is a charming book with Veronica as a quirky character. So I'm looking forward to getting back into it and finding out about Veronica and her grandson's adventures in the Antarctica. Zed, a novel of ZELDA FITZGERALD, or Z if you're from the US, by Therese and Fowler. As the title suggests, this is a historical fiction novel about ZELDA FITZGERALD. It takes place in the 1920s when she meets author F. Scott Fitzgerald, and this is about their relationship that it turns out, I guess, many did not approve of. I actually don't know much about their story, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Autumn by Ali Smith. This is the first of 4 books that Ali Smith has written in the season series, and I've been told by those who have read all of them that reading them in order would probably be the best, so I want to get to this one before it becomes winter, because the 5th book on my potential list is Winter by Ali Smith, which I think I will read once the snow starts. I'd like to read them in the season that they are named after. So I know very little about this series, but I do know that it seems that the stories suit the season, so I think that will be kind of neat to read them in this season. Pachinko by Min Jin Lee is also high on my potential list. It is a historical fiction book set in Korea and Japan, beginning in the early 1900s and spanning to the late 1980s. It's a family saga, and I think it's one of those books that I just want to sit for a long period of time and read on a dreary, cold day, probably with a hot chocolate. Hum If You Don't Know the Words by Bianca Marais has been on my radar for a while. Bianca Marais was born in South Africa and now lives in Toronto, Canada. I love the title of this, and I have only heard good things. So the story takes place in the 1970s during the apartheid, and it's told by 2 different perspectives from 2 women who probably under normal circumstances would never have met. The Farm by Joanne Ramos is about this beautiful place in the Hudson Valley where you can make more money than you can possibly imagine, as long as you are willing to stay for 9 months without leaving and having every move you make monitored. Your only task is to produce the perfect baby. It sounds like it has some kind of Handmaid's Tale vibes. This is one that really intrigues me. The Girl with the Flammable Skirt by Aimee Bender is a collection of short stories, and I read Aimee Bender's novel several years ago called The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake, and I really enjoyed it. Her writing has a lot of surrealism, which is not always my thing, but I liked how she writes, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what her short stories are like. I've had 2 books by Canadian author Nancy Jo Cullen on my shelf for a while now, both of them unread, so I want to read at least one of them before the year's out, and I think I'm going to go with the Western Alienation Merit Badge. This takes place in Calgary, Alberta in 1982, and this is part family drama and part queer coming-of-age story, so I'm glad I will finally get to find out what Cullen's writing is like. Number 1 Chinese Restaurant by Lillian Lee. I think I heard about this from either BookTube or Instagram, and this fiction story takes place in Rockville, Maryland at a Chinese restaurant called the Duck House. And there are tensions that are rising between the employees, those who want to make changes to the restaurant, and those who want to uphold the family name and traditions. I think this one appeals to me because I can already imagine the restaurant. I have a pretty good picture of it in my head. Knots by Gunnhild Oyehaug is a collection of stories translated from Norwegian. I apologize, I'm probably not saying that name correctly. It looks like it's going to be a quick book, and the stories range from very surreal to more uneventful. One of the stories is about a mother who gives birth to her son, and they stay connected through the umbilical cord as he grows up. So who wouldn't want to read a story about that? I'll let you know how that one goes. Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides is one of the books that has been on my shelf unread for the longest time. I would love it if this was the year that I finally read it. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. The Night Olivia Fell by Christina McDonald is a domestic suspense novel about a mother who is trying to figure out how her daughter became brain dead and pregnant. So it seems like it might have some twists in it, and I'm looking forward to that. A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini has been on my shelf for way too long. I really need to read it. Khaled Hosseini is the author of The Kite Runner, which is one of my all-time favorite books. And why haven't I read more of his books? Well, I'm hoping to remedy that by reading this very soon. Norman Bray in The Performance of His Life by Canadian author Trevor Cole is another one of the many books that's been on my shelf for way too long. This was first published in, I think, 2004, and I actually think that this book didn't get as much attention as it probably deserves, but I also think that I need to read it before I really commit to saying that. This is a debut novel that is supposedly hilarious with a man called Ove kind of vibe. Once I read it, I will let you know for sure. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier I have on my Kindle, and I want to read this classic because I don't know anything about it. I've heard it's amazing. Some people have described it as a mystery, some as a thriller, and some as historical fiction. It's probably a little bit of all of those. So basically, I want to read it as soon as I can because I really want to check out the new movie on Netflix, but I want to read it first. Aria by Nazanin Hozar is a debut novel that was published in 2019. I had the opportunity to meet Nazanin and hear her speak at the Toronto International Festival of Authors last year. And this is a story about an orphan baby who grows up in Tehran and the people in her life. And this one interests me for many reasons, one of them being that it takes place during the revolution in Tehran, and I want to learn more about that. When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Khan-Cullors. In this book, Patrice shares her experiences about what it is like to be Black in America, why and how she became one of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matters movement. I think this memoir is obviously important during this time in our lives, so I'm really hoping to get it done before the end of the year. Last but certainly not least is No Relations by Terry Fallis. I love Terry Fallis. He is one of my favorite Canadian authors. All of his books have humor and interesting characters. Plus, this is one that I promised my friend Leone that I would read for her. We were going to do a buddy read, and that was probably a couple months ago now, and she has been very patient and kind, so I need to get this one read so that we can talk about it. So these 20 books are only a small fraction of the books that I still need to read. There are also the books that I need to read for the Mondays with Margaret series. That series starts in a couple of weeks on November the 9th. I will leave information in the description below about the year of reading Margaret Atwood. And if that's something that you're interested in, then you can check that out. I also have a list of books I'm reading for the Toronto International Film Festival this year, and I will be sharing some of the events that I'm attending and some of the books that are part of that in some of my upcoming videos. I will leave a link below to a blog post about last year's festival, which was so much fun. And I also have a few buddy reads. A shout out to Karen, I have not forgotten about you, and I will be in touch very soon about reading the Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. Let me know if anybody else would like to be part of that. You're welcome to join us in that buddy read. Just let me know in the comments. Please also let me know in the comments what books you are hoping to finish before the end of the year. And if you've read any of the books in this video, please let me know. Maybe there's some you think I should read first. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.